All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Orange Visuals podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We have Alicia Garner. Alicia, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Alicia is the broker and the owner of Mainstream Realty Pros, and it's an indie brokerage based out of Easton, Ohio. Well, I guess Easton Town
Columbus.
Center. Yeah, Columbus, Ohio. And this is going to be a good kind of contrast between what we had last week when we had Sarah Moore from Coldwell, and now it's kind of like a little more on the local side, smaller, kind of more to know, kind of how to know what her vision is like with her brokerage, what it's like to deal with agents, and how she kind of got into this business. So, Alicia, thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. This is so fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit about how your kind of like your professional career started? Because you didn't jump into real estate. You actually were you went to college for structural engineering. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so back when I was in school, it's been a while ago, they were pushing a lot of us into engineering if you were like good at science or math. And I wanted to be an architect, actually.
Mhm.
That's actually what I really wanted to do. But structural engineering was kind of a hot field at that time, and they had a lot of different like scholarships and things like that available. And UC had a really great bridge program. And so I literally started that program. I think I graduated and was there within a month that summer.
Yeah.
And so I did the bridge program, met some wonderful people, was there for a year, decided that I absolutely hated it. um, I I've always been really great with numbers and math and just
Mm.
I love money. I love anything to do with like economics, that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
that kind of was a natural bend. But I remember sitting, but they had a time when you did a P&G is really big down in Cincinnati. I don't
Yeah.
know if you're aware of that. But, UC partners with P&G, and they do, like, internships, and you get to go, and you get to sit and talk to the different engineers, and I remember sitting in this guy's office, probably about the size of this room,
Mhm.
and he had a goldfish, and, we were talking about the goldfish because I got to ask questions and stuff, and I said, "So, you have a goldfish?" And he goes, "Yeah, I see more of that goldfish than I do with my own kids."
Oh my
And I
gosh.
thought, "Oh." And I said, "Really? Is that what you expected this to be?" And he said, "No, you get into engineering to get into management so that you can get on salary and just have the company car and have all the things like that." And I remember just sitting there at that moment and thinking, "I hate this. I'll never say this." Like, I don't wanna sit in an office. And then we went to a meeting, and they were doing a whole boardroom meeting, and for 2 years, they were working on an underground cap that went on underground storage tank for, like, chemicals.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that just sounded so boring.
I
So,
Yeah, how'd you decide what'd you decide to do kind of after? Because I know you went back to Ohio State, but,
yeah.
like, what was the
So I kinda went more into, like, the interior design business side of things, just kinda trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It was kind of a complete 180. My parents were not happy. I was on a full ride scholarship and
Oh,
had to take
really?
yeah, I was on a full ride scholarship to UC, and I had to call my parents and tell them I was not gonna continue with it.
Dang, so you were really committed. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Okay, that's not just like
I was
a
very committed. So when I got back, I just kinda started trying to feel my way through, like, what I wanted to do. I think what most of us kinda go through at that age, I was, like, 19, um, thinking I had it all figured out, you know?
Yeah.
And at the time, I just realized I was like, "I don't know what I wanna do." Like,
Mhm.
I catch on to things quickly, and I love numbers, but I also am more extroverted. I think I'm kind of a good balance between the introvert and extrovert. So I was like, "I don't know what I wanna do." So that's what I started going to school for at Ohio State and was taking some business classes, which led me to kind of doing a short internship kind of job
Mhm.
with a local, like, payroll accounting company.
Yeah. And then this is kind of when your real estate journey starts. So you were telling me kind of like you started working at Discover
Yep.
and then you eventually stumble upon real estate investing, which at that time, like this is what year was this?
This would have been well, let's see, my husband and I got married in '97,
Okay.
and then I was working at Discover Card at that time. So this would have been probably about '98, and we were married
Uh,
like a year, year and a half.
No, like, social media gurus, like, telling you to invest
No.
back then.
No, but there were infomercial gurus back then, so but these people would come on at night, on TV, and my husband worked 3rd shift, I worked 2nd shift, so we were up late a
Ah,
lot of
okay.
times. And there was a guy that came on, Carlton Sheets, some people might remember it,
Mhm.
but he had a little program and you could order it, and I always loved everything about houses. Obviously, with architecture and, like, design, I just have always had a love for those things, so
Yeah.
um, I thought, maybe we could buy a few rentals or flip a home or something, just thought that would be fun. And so we
Really?
ordered the program and we went through like 2 steps, and then next thing you know, we were doing one of the steps. It was like a wintry day. This is actually a pretty cool story, about just tenacity because of the way that my husband and I schedules were, we rarely were together.
Yeah.
Because he's working 3rd, I'm working 2nd. I was also interning at that job and plus taking classes. So, like, I don't even know when I slept. I think back then, I'm like, I don't even know when I slept. But we had 1 day off,
Yeah.
and we were gonna do this field trip down to the county courthouse where you learned how to, like, do property research, kinda like what a title company does. Like, you learn and you'd have to go down, like, on the machines and, like, learn how to look up property information and liens and things like that. So, the only day we had to do it, it was a blizzard,
Oh my gosh.
and they were still open.
Oh.
So, we decided this was back before they didn't shut everything down for, like, 2 inches of snow. But, like, we drove down there, we were like, "You know what? What else are we gonna do?" So,
Yes. What were you guys looking for? Like,
we were just learning how to research properties, how to research things that might be up on auction or sheriff sale, those type of things.
mhm.
And, we went down there, and there was one other person down in the whole room when we were there, and her name's Jean. She's probably who knows, maybe she'll listen to this, but, we were fumbling around, and she goes, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, we don't know what we're doing. Can you help us?" And she said, "Sure." So she helped us look up properties on the machine, and then she goes, "What are you guys doing this for?" I'm like, "We're just following this investment thing, like, we just wanna buy some houses." And she goes, "You need to connect with my broker." And
Oh.
that's how I met my first real estate broker.
Uh-huh.
We met with him, he helped us buy a couple properties on sheriff sale. The first property we bought on sheriff sale, we'd never had stepped foot in it. It was on Lockbourne Road, and I think we paid, like, 25,000 or something for it. And when I got it, when he called us to tell us that we won it on sheriff sale, he goes, "I got good news and bad news." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "The good news is you got it." And I was like, "Yay!" He goes, "The bad news is it has an indoor swimming pool." And I was like, "What does that mean?" It had 4 feet of water in the basement with a dead cat. So that was our first investment property, and after that, we fell in love with it, and we just started investing.
How long did you guys follow the Guru's program, like, after that first home sale, or was it, like, kinda
Not long at all because what I have found out about a lot of those programs is they're not really specific to your area. And so if it wasn't for hooking up with that broker and him really, like, showing us the ropes and giving us some insight and kind of the connections that we needed here
Mhm.
locally, I probably would not have succeeded, to be honest.
Yeah.
He was a big part of our success, for sure.
And then with the first property, like, kind of what were you guys doing rentals? Was this flips, like, fix and flips? Like, what
This
was
one,
this?
we were I think we were gonna flip it, and we were gonna do all the work ourselves. We were, like, 20. I wanna say I was probably, like, 23 at the time, 23 years old or so, 24.
That
Anyway, never had done any work other than, like, putting up wallpaper and painting, you know what I mean? Like, but for some reason, we thought we could do this, you know? So we started the project, and then my broker at the time, he came, and he was more like a friend,
mhm.
and he was like, "What are you guys doing?" We had cut, like, the asbestos siding off the side of the house, had no idea it was asbestos. I mean, we learned a lot of things the hard way, but he came in and he goes, "Listen, this is what you should do," and he told us that we should land contract it
Mhm.
and that he would send in a crew to finish it up, and so we were like, "Yeah, because 'cause we're not ever gonna get it done if we keep doing
Yeah.
it." So at through that first property, we learned the lesson of, like, leveraging ourselves, our time, and professionals who can really get things done.
Mhm.
So that particular property, we ended up kinda renting it out, but we did a land contract with the guy,
Mhm.
and then he ended up buying it from us 2 years later, refinancing it and paying us off.
Did
So
did you guys kind of like, because you started off so early, like, you weren't even in real estate yet, but did you guys have
mm-mm.
any serious real estate investing mistakes starting off, or
No, we really didn't. I look back and I'm like, I've only had one bad experience and I still made money on it. Like, we were very I always tell people you make money in real estate when you buy,
Mhm.
you don't make money when you sell. So you really have to buy right, and you have to make sure you're leveraging yourself, but not too much. So a big part of our success, even to this day, we still have a contact that is our cash kind of like our cash money guy, that we would just call. We got to the point where we just call and say, "Hey, we got this deal. Here's the numbers. This is what we need from you." And he would just finance the deal and bring cash to the closing for us. Um, and that was just through connections, just like talking to people,
Mm.
really just having pride in what we did. Like we really did put a good product together, and we still do. We do flips here and there.
Yeah.
It's a little different in this market because the pricing's a little different.
Not the same.
No, not at all.
And
We used to buy properties for like 15, 20, 30,000
the good old
and
days.
then
Yeah, right.
rent them out. Now they call them burrs, like the BRRR method, but like back then it was just buy and hold. Like
Yeah.
it's just there's a new marketing around it, but it's all the same. It was like we'd buy it, we'd renovate it, we'd refinance it, and we'd rent it out.
Yeah, and then 'cause so you kind of start real estate investing. Is
Mhm.
that when you decided, "I'm gonna be a real estate agent," or what
You
was,
know what? I really never looked at myself as a real estate agent. It was my broker who was the one who said, "You're paying me a lot of money to like find these deals. Why don't you just get your license?" I'm like, "I'm not a salesperson. I am not a salesperson at all." And he goes, "Alicia, it's not sales, it's people. And you love people and you're great with people."
Mhm.
And I said, "Really? You think so?" And so he goes, if even if you just do your own deals, he goes, it would be worth it because then you could search the MLS for your own deals.
Mhm.
You could represent yourself in your own sales." And he's like, "I'll hold your license." And the more I thought about it, it made sense.
Mm,
So I decided to do it. So
okay.
I went and
What
got
year
my
was that?
license. Well, I got licensed in 2000.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright.
And then I started off by being like an assistant in his office and just kind of doing my own thing and answering the phones and doing open houses on his listings and just
Oh,
whatever he had me do, I just did it.
so
And
that was your time, this was at Home Right Realty, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a little company called Home Right Realty. It was literally like me and like I think there were like 3 other agents there.
Are they still open now or
No.
no?
Unfortunately, Will passed away in a tragic
Uh,
car accident. Um, it's probably been about 15 years ago now, I think.
so
But still honor his family and, like, everything that he kinda helped us through, 'cause I really don't think I would be in this industry at all,
mm,
at least not at the time I did if it wasn't for his guidance.
yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about, I guess now HER? You kinda start off and now you're like a serious realtor. When was, like, the
Um,
transition of
I won't I don't know if I was, like, a serious realtor. I still don't consider myself serious, but I guess the story kinda goes like investment was my thing,
Mhm.
and so my husband and I started doing, like, investment seminars. He ended up getting licensed in 2001. Um, and I always tell people we kind of fell backwards into real estate. It wasn't like we sat down and made some big business plan and like decided this is the way we're going to go.
Mhm.
It was just kind of like we were still working at Discover Card while we were doing all the investment stuff. Um, and I just wanted to get out of there in the sense of not keep doing. I actually liked my job.
Mhm.
I worked in the fraud department and I was a unit coordinator, so I just kind of helped manage under the manager and that sort of stuff. And I really loved it, and I trained people. And so I really kinda learned those skills there, but what happened was I decided to quit in 2001 and go full-time. I was like, "This is it. I'm doing this, like, I'm going full-time in real estate." Was starting to get a pretty good book of investor business, like, I was really work attracting a lot of investors, obviously, because that's what I was good at.
Yeah.
So I quit my job in February 2001 and then found out 2 weeks after I quit that I was pregnant with my first daughter, and I was like, "Oops." Probably would have made a different decision if I would have known that, but I looked at my husband and I said, "I'm not going back. You gotta get your license." And so that's how he got licensed in 2001. And so after that, we had our first daughter in November of 2001, and he went on paternity leave and never went back. That's when we got serious.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, um, sometimes you gotta have something that kind of pushes you through that why.
Mhm.
And I think before it was just like our why was, yeah, we just wanna not work in a 9 to 5 job, we wanna have a little bit more freedom. And then once we got to the point where we're like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna have a family," the why changed,
Yeah.
and the motivation changed a lot. And
That's really interesting he quit the job after. you gave birth. I don't
Well, he
know.
was on paternity leave, and he just never went back. He
Oh,
literally had, like, 6 weeks off paid, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not going back." 'Cause by then we had and I don't necessarily like, when agents sit down with me, they're like, "Should I quit my job and just start, full-time in real estate?" I'm like, "No, I don't think you should." At that time, we had income coming in from properties. We had rental income that was supporting the majority of
I was
our
gonna ask, like,
day-to-day bills, So it was yes, it was still a stretch. It wasn't comfortable, but we weren't broke either, we weren't just, like, living on nothing.
yeah,
I wouldn't say we had, like, a ton of money saved up, but at least we had some residual income coming in from the rentals, so
kind
that
of
was nice.
yeah, it was like it's basically enough where like, this is the future. What I'm doing here at Discover is, like, not gonna last.
Yeah. When I sat down with my manager to give him my 2 weeks, he looked at me and he said, "It's about time." So I guess even he knew, like, she's not staying here, you know?
Yeah, they could
As
just see
much as
it.
I loved it and the people were amazing that I work with, and we still talk to a lot of the people that we worked with there.
Mhm.
But it was time. It was time to just go on and do something different.
Yeah.
So what happened was when my husband got his license,
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot of training offered through the small brokerage that I was at.
Yeah.
It was just a one-man show and a couple of us girls that worked for him. And so a friend of mine that worked with us at that time, she went to HER in Gahanna, and she was like, "Alicia, you gotta check this out." At that time, I was about 8 months pregnant, so that would have been, like, October of 2001,
Yeah.
and I went and interviewed with the manager at the time, and they had a lot of support and just a great office of people. It was a great, culture there
Mhm.
and just loved it. So my husband and I went there because he really needed the training. I'm more of a just jump in and
Yeah.
figure it out person, but my husband is definitely more of, like, need a plan to follow person, so that's how we ended up at HER
Mhm.
in 2001.
Yeah, how did you decide to kind of start up with Mainstream Business Solutions, which eventually is now your brokerage? Because that was, like, around 2003-ish? Like
Yeah, so what happened was Mainstream Business Solutions pretty much became the umbrella of our investment properties that we used to do. The name's changed since back then. It used to be a different name.
mm,
But yeah, so that was kind of what we did all of our real estate investments through, but we weren't really doing our real estate business, like our transactions through that.
okay.
Yeah. But when we decided to do the brokerage in 2015, um, that was the LLC that we used. We got a DBA, and that's where Mainstream Realty Pros was born.
Okay,
So,
yeah, alright.
yeah.
And then, okay, I'm really interested because 'cause you're really big into real estate investing. So what happens, like, when we get closer to, like, 2006, 2007, 2008? What's
Well,
going on?
yeah, there was a big crash in 2008. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if you heard about it. Uh,
maybe.
so investments kinda took us that was, like, our whole niche, like, a lot of realtors get niches and they figure out what they wanna do. Our whole niche was investing. Like,
Mhm.
we worked with investors, we still have investors to this day that still buy properties with us that we worked with for 25 years. And so that whole sector of real estate changed,
Yeah.
literally within a year. We also a lot of our listings, were tied up in asset management companies, which I'm not sure a lot of people don't know what those are nowadays, but, like, REO properties and bank-owned properties, the banks don't sell those properties directly to the market. They hire asset management companies that manage the asset until it's ready to be sold.
Mhm.
And those asset management companies hire local real estate professionals to help manage boots on the ground operations.
Okay.
So we did that for HER used to have a whole division centered around that, and Mark and I, along with a few other agents, ran those listings. So we basically got handed like 6 to 10 listings a month that were bank owned that we would have to manage and then sell and that sort of thing. So we were kind of a one-stop shop for investors. So investors could come to us, we'd know about like what's coming up, where the deals were,
Yeah.
we still have a Facebook page out there that has, like, people that would follow it, and we post properties on there and stuff. So when things started to go kinda sideways, it was a big deal for us because it was our whole business. It wasn't just
Mm.
a small portion of what we were doing, it was everything we were doing. So it was a time to kind of regroup.
When did you realize, like, "Yo, like, things are actually going down. Like, this is not good. Like, this isn't just like a random, like, market occurrence. Like, this is really bad."
Well, I when you would go to look for a home in the MLS and every like 8 out of 10 of the houses were distress sale.
Oh.
They all needed something, they were owned by an entity or a bank, or they were HUD homes or things like that, or you would go to do comparables on a home. And I have like a beautiful retail resale house, and all of the comps are like foreclosures. That's it was kind of scary in a way for it, but more so for people that really needed to sell their retail home in that market. It was hard. It was really hard. You had to really be someone. I tell my agents, you have to know how to pivot. You have to read the room, right? So if you were in luxury real estate at that time, guess what? You had to adapt. You had to say, you know what? I may sell luxury, but today I'm selling a $200,000 house.
Yeah.
And back then, investors were a thing. So there was some benefit in that way that we could help investors find deals. And so we just tried to capitalize on that as much as possible and buy deals and that sort of thing. Retail real estate, though, was in the tank. Like it was pretty bad at that time. Um,
How did you guys pivot during that time, if you guys did at all?
Yeah, we did. We had to. I mean, we were all in, you know what I mean? Like there were no side hustles happening. Like it was just we both were 100% full-time in real estate.
Yeah.
So we had to figure things out. What we did at that time, well, we looked at our costs. And this is what I tell agents all the time. When you're in a situation where things are tightening up, you need to first look at your costs, look at your expenses. Our expenses at the time, I love HER and now they're Howard Hanna.
Yeah.
But, at that time, there was some management changes, and they were starting to nickel and dime take more of our commissions, and so we were approached by another company at that time that was offering, like, the 100% programs.
Mhm.
So we said, "You know what? That's one way that we can kinda cut some bleeding, right? We can
Yeah.
move over to here." And we were already established and I mean, back then, 100% programs did nothing. They just gave you, like, "Here's your legal," basically. You got
Yeah.
no website, you got nothing, which we didn't need because we had already built that stuff on our own. So that was one way that we kind of overcame that season, and then another way is we decided at that time, and this kinda leads to where I am today. We decided at that time, what do we need to do to sustain this and be predictable in our business? How can we build a business that isn't built on what the economy's doing today?
Yeah.
How do you sustain this to be something that we do for 25, 30, 40 plus years and quit whenever we want without the struggle of like having to chase and find business all the time? And so I started to interview some of the top agents in our office. I started interviewing some of the agents that were in our industry. Some of them are still in real estate even today, running large teams.
Mhm.
And I just started asking them, I'm like, how did you do this? Like, tell
Yeah.
me, what did you do? What would you suggest that I do in this market? Like, I'm looking to pivot. And without fail, every single one of them said, you need to build your book of business, build a sphere, and you need to work it.
Hmm.
And you have to have referrals. And I'm like, how do I do that? And they're like, "Well, how many houses have you sold?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. We sold like 80 last year." They're like, "How many of those people have you followed up with?" I was like, "None. Why would I do that?" And they said, "How many years have you been doing this?" I was like, "A while." And they were like, "Where's all those files?" I'm like, "In my basement." And so they said, "Start pulling them out and start reaching out to those people." And so I thought, that's a weird thing to say. Like, I don't even know some of these people. They just bought an investment property from us, or
Yeah.
we sold that investment property and it was like an end buyer who was represented by like another realtor. And I'm like, do I contact them? Like, what do I tell them? I don't even know what to say. So I started researching that and started finding different resources for people that were successful in that. In 2011, 2012 is when we started kind of pivoting our business to be I said, "You know what? I wanna work that way.
Mhm.
I wanna work where I have my own town of people,
Yeah.
and we're the mayors, and we like working with people in our town." You
It's a
know?
really good analogy for it, kind of like everyone knows you, they're
Mhm.
constantly, like, referring to you, and then you don't have to so that's actually crazy. Wait, so you're saying for, like, the first 8 years of your business, you didn't work off referrals? Like,
For the first 11
11?
years of our I don't think I even did it well until starting maybe 2015, 14, maybe even before maybe a little bit before that.
How
So
are you guys finding, like, clients? Is it
because we were just literally handed listings,
Oh,
from these asset management companies that we worked with. Because see, to get in with an asset management company back then, you had to jump through a lot of hoops and
yeah,
have a lot of connections. They had these things called bright broker price opinions,
yeah.
and I would be doing like 10 of those a week. And they were basically just like CMAs, but you had to do them on appraisal type documents, similar to what an appraiser would do. Definitely not an appraiser, just to put that out there.
Yeah.
But I did those. That was part of my like every day was like I would do these CMAs. We would have to run out to these properties. We had to manage the workers that came out to the properties. So we were kind of like the perfect people to do that because we were already managing contractors with their investments.
Mhm.
We were already understood. We were not afraid of walking in properties that had dead things in them and
Yeah.
whatever we walked
That's
into, we were not afraid of anything. We had seen it all. And so and it was just, and we already had a huge database of these investors, but we just never thought to switch those over to be like ongoing business. You know what I mean? Like
that
you
is
get tunnel vision and you're just doing what you do. And then it took kind of that market to kind of jolt me and say, okay, if this dries up, which it did,
mm,
um, what are we going to do?
yeah,
I don't want to go get a job,
makes sense, yeah.
you know? So
That
we started this little homespun newsletter. We actually wrote some letters out to people that we sent out to past clients. And we basically, we were real. Like, I think that's the biggest thing is like, I think agents always try to figure out, what am I going to say? I was just like, I honestly just said, look, we sucked at following up with you for all this time. And we really want to change that because we realize we're not giving you the value and service you deserve.
Mhm.
And that changes today. And that's what we sent out to people.
Oh, wow.
And then we did it. You know, we followed up. We actually continued to do what we said we were gonna do.
I'm noticing, like, a common theme with you kind of in your career is kind of like, you think it, you go for it, like,
Mhm.
even back to, like, the college, like, you, like, heard the guy talk about, like, his work-life balance, and you're like, "Okay, that's it.
I
Back to the
follow my
boss."
gut a lot on things I do.
No, it's just, like, the shift in, like, the way you worked is, like, that is crazy. Cause like, now, like, everyone says, like, "Oh, sphere of influence, referrals," like, that's, like, the regular, like, realtor way, and then for you to, like, not do that, and then start doing that, and now your business is primarily through that.
I'd say 95% of our business is referral,
Yeah.
and we don't I mean, my husband and I, we're very opposites. Like, if you ever sat down with him, maybe you have him on here one time. We're complete opposites, which is usually how it ends up, right? I'm like the visionary. I walk into a crazy looking property. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this could be beautiful." And he goes, "What? There's no way this is gonna work." And so I tell him, like, I'm always like the persuasive one, like, "This is how it's gonna work. This is what you can do. These are the numbers. This will work."
Huh.
But I think that it takes those type of people in your life to keep you grounded too.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm definitely the
Go for it.
yes. I am definitely the go for it, like, push, but I have learned as I've gotten older to, to really think through things a lot more and not be so compulsive about it,
Mhm.
or impulsive, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Just to really look at the pros, the cons. I tell my agents too, because I see a lot of impulsiveness in real estate.
Yeah.
You know, there's a shiny new thing that comes out and it's like, "Oh, I gotta have it. It's gonna do all the things. It's gonna answer every question. It's gonna answer every problem I have." But ultimately, what I have found, I have bought everything. Like, I tell people, don't buy anything because I probably have already bought it and I probably have it saved on a hard drive somewhere and you can have it. Like,
Yeah.
I've tried them all, but in the end, what I find is like, it's whatever you're 100% sold out to is what you're gonna do.
Mhm.
And if you're not, then don't do it. Like, if you can't commit to doing it 100%, then don't do it. And I think that's just how I've lived my whole career. Y
No, that is, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, like, to go and be committed to something, like, right off the, like, as soon as you hear it. It's more of just, like, this, like, I think one thing that makes you so successful is also the speed that you go and undertake it, makes it that you learn faster because you're,
Yeah.
like, already doing it so fast. One thing I'm interested in is kind of mostly because 'cause we're on the real estate investing side.
Yeah.
What was, like, your how did you deal with contractors? Because it's like, there's a lot of contractors, like, interesting ones. Some do
Yes.
good work, some do not good work, and I'm like, how do you find the people that you could trust and, like, hey, make sure, like, hey, the work that he's done is quality work that is lasting and is actually gonna
When I used to teach my real estate investment class, like Introduction to Real Estate Investing, I would always ask them, "What's the one most important thing that you need to know when you're investing in real estate and buying your first property?" And they would all say, "Where am I gonna get the money and how I'm gonna do this?" I'd say, "No, your number one key thing you need is your contractors, because contractors will make or break anything that you do.
Mhm.
You can get the best deal in the world, and if that contractor doesn't show up, or they don't give you, accurate bids, where you end up finding more issues and problems that you didn't have a contingency budget, that number will be out the window and you will be stuck. Um, so I think the biggest thing that I've learned when looking for contractors is you have to see their work. You have to show up on the jobs when they don't expect you. You have to do your homework before you hire somebody.
Mhm.
So like even if I'm hiring somebody to do work for me, I need to see references. I need to see before and afters. I want to talk to the people that you worked with. And if a contractor tells me, well, you can't show up on one of my jobs or da da da, then I'm not going to work with you
Mhm.
because that tells me something about why can't I,
Yeah.
you know?
If you're gonna be a client, if you're paying them.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, but especially if you plan to do a lot of those type of deals, I think one of the biggest things I see people do right now in investing is they haven't bought a property, but they're acting like they have.
Mhm.
So
What
they're out.
by that?
So they're out. So it's just I don't want to like burn people, but like so people that go around and say, "Hey, contractor, I'm going to be giving you a lot of work. You know, I need to see this, I need to see that, and da 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 da," and kind of reading like they've done a lot of stuff, but they really haven't,
Mhm.
and they haven't even bought one property yet. I think that you need to be honest
Mhm.
with people. I think you need to tell a contractor, "Look, I'm getting into real estate investing. I want to build some good connections with people. I'm going to need help. I'm going to need somebody that's willing to give me advice and willing to give me some of their expertise in this in what they see,
Mm.
but also allow me to have the creative freedom that I need and also work within my budget. Is that something you're interested in?" I think you just need to be real with people. I think a lot of times people try to hype up like they're going to do all these great things. They're going to give them tons of business. They're going to do that. They're going to do this.
Yeah.
And then they don't even do one deal, you know? So, but I think with contractors for me, it's just I really go on a lot on word of mouth. Usually if real estate agents are referring a contractor, they're usually good
Mhm.
because it's our name on the line if we're
Yeah.
gonna refer somebody. But if I'm adding somebody new, I usually try them myself first before I give them to a client, and then I like to see their work.
Mm.
And by see their work, I actually wanna show up on a real job that they're doing right now.
Yeah.
I wanna see how, like, is it clean? Are they
Are they, like, following the
Yes.
codes, all the passing inspection,
'Cause the
all that?
biggest things with contractors that I look for, I don't wanna babysit them.
Yeah.
I don't wanna have to call you 5 times to show up on time. If I say, "Hey, you need to be at this property to meet so and so at this time," I wanna know that they're gonna be there. Like, I don't Yeah, so I think that. I think the quality of work also, if you're doing flips, I mean, you don't have to have, like, top-notch quality unless you're in, like, a higher price range. But, I mean, I always strive for a 7.5 or 8 and above on
Yeah.
my flips. To me, that's, like, good quality work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One thing I'm kind of interested in is because you started your real estate career when you had your daughter,
Mhm.
and you never kinda, like, took a break from that. Was there any consideration, like, with the kids, maybe I'll take a step aside, or was it like, they're going with me too?
And a carrier on my chest to every property. My 3-year-old, at the time she was 3, my oldest daughter, she went to all my showings. She went to all of my I also homeschooled too.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I homeschooled we have 2 girls. Our youngest is getting ready to graduate high school,
Mhm.
but homeschooled them from kindergarten all the way through senior year,
12th grade?
12th grade.
Dang.
Yep. So I tell people, I'm like, that's why I got into real estate. Like, I grew up in a house where my parents came from very humble beginnings.
Mhm.
Neither one of them at the time they had us had finished college. So they were just kind of making it in life, you know? And so my dad went back to school and my mom worked like 2 to 3 jobs sometimes just to make sure my brother and I had everything that we need. And I love them and they're wonderful parents. But I did want to make sure when I had my kids that I was more present, that I was able to be with them.
Mhm.
Um, and my parents set me up to be able to do that, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So
What do you mean
anyways,
by that? Kind of
meaning like,
elaborate.
so I think so many times in our culture nowadays, people want to blame their parents for why they aren't somewhere or what they didn't have. But if my parents hadn't have changed the script for themselves, and did the hard things, worked the 2 or 3 jobs, went back to school, then they wouldn't have given me the launch pad to go further. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I really look at, like, being a parent and, like, your kids. Like, I tell my kids all the time, like, "You should do better than me because you're starting out at a different level than what I started. My parents started out at a lower level." You know what I mean? If you keep going back, like, every generation should just be getting better and better. So that's kind of my philosophy. But anyway, when it came to real estate, to me, that was the appeal, is that I could have my babies on my hip.
Yes.
I could
Wow.
take them to the jobs. I could take them on my showings. I just told people, look, the reason why I chose this career is so I could be with my family. And so my daughter might be at some of my showings. Is that okay? And they were like, sure, you can bring her.
Yeah.
Nobody ever cared. And then at 3 and 4, she'd literally be showing houses. She'd be like, this
That's
has
cute.
so much natural light and whatever. She would say, oh, look, there's the kitchen. And she was just really great at that. And she was cute as a button. So
Yeah.
it was just, it was great. It was just conducive to everything that we wanted for our family.
How did you balance your time kind of with doing real estate? And then, I mean, because when you're homeschooling your daughters, you're responsible for their education now.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't really like let that slack because then it's like your daughter's future that's like
Yeah.
slacking kind of.
Again, Vlad, back to like the philosophy of how we built our business and what we did by the time. So we started doing more of the referral side. The nice thing about the REOs was that it was very corporate type real estate. So there wasn't a lot of picking up and running around, so I didn't have to, like, I could plan my week. Like
Yeah.
we could say, okay, property checks are on Tuesdays and Fridays, and this is on this day and this day. So it allowed us to really, and then plus you got to remember, we're a team, my husband and I. So there's two of us,
Yeah.
which was a great advantage. But as the girls got older and we had our second one, it really just became time blocking and prioritizing, and then as we built more of a referral business, what we learned was that you spend a lot less time when you build a business by referral.
Okay.
So, we could easily work between the both of us 8 hours a day for 4 hours each and still have the lifestyle we wanted and be able to have time for the girls and homeschool.
Hmm.
And, a lot of people don't know this, but homeschooling takes a lot less time
Really?
than regular school.
Huh. Okay.
So about 4 hours a day was what we spent with the girls when they were younger. And then as they get older, they do start to transition to other programs and they're more motivated and
Self-talk.
yeah, not self-taught,
Uh,
but just
yeah, that's a bad way of
yeah.
not that.
But we would plug them into like different programs and things. So they still had a teacher or a tutor or a coach and different things, but they were just more self, I guess, policing, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like college.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
That's
you
a
get
really
your
good way to
syllabus and you say, "Hey, this is what you're responsible for," and they had to do it. So,
Mhm.
the older they get, the easier it got, actually.
Oh, okay, I guess, yeah, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that
I know,
because
because it's not
it feels like it would've been really hard for high school, but
I thought that too until we got there, and then I was like, "Oh, I didn't really teach my kids high school. I got other people to teach my kids high school."
kinda yeah, kind of like buying back your own time, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, it's basically just like private school, but I pick who the teachers are, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
Okay, so then now it's like that totally makes sense why you would do
Yeah.
that. Can you tell me a little bit about mainstream realty pros, like, kind of how you decided that we're gonna be going after our own brokerage?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I actually didn't wanna start a brokerage.
Mhm.
From the beginning. I was kind of it just became kind of a natural next step for us because we had a lot of investors who owned quite a few doors here in Columbus, and they were having a heck of a time finding a good property management company. And so when I approached my broker at the time and I said, "Hey, we'd like to do property management," he said, "We don't do that." And I said, "What do you mean you don't do it?" And I learned that in order to do property management, you have to be at a brokerage that allows it.
Oh,
And so then I started on a hunt to find a brokerage that allowed it, that I would wanna be actually a real estate agent at. Could not find one. And then somebody said, "Why don't you just open up your own?" And I was like, again, I was like, "Let me think about that." And so my husband and I thought about it, and I was like, "You know what? That's probably not a bad idea because we're just looking at controlling and managing our own clients anyways. So let's do it." So I went to get my broker's license in 2015, and there were 3 of us, me, my husband, and a team member, and we opened up the brokerage and basically ran the property management company out of it for till 2018.
okay,
And then
what happened in 2018?
2018, I kinda took a hiatus and ran a brokerage for a company that was out of town that wanted to open up
Uh,
here in Ohio, and I did that for a couple years, and in order to do that, I had to abandon my property management side.
okay,
So we did, and then we reopened, Mainstream because that company decided to dissolve and not be in Ohio any longer. So we reopened Mainstream Realty Pros in 2020, a week before the COVID shutdown. Literally.
Really good time to start.
Literally, we delivered all the licenses one day, went out of town, came back, and everything shut down.
Yeah, there
So,
wasn't there, like it was, like, a week or, like, a month where it was, like, real estate might have been shut down, but then it got considered essential, and then it was kinda like
yep.
market started up, and then for you,
And
it's
then it
probably
was crazy,
yeah, for you,
like
it must have been
crazy.
awesome.
You know what? I mean, it was awesome from the sense of like, it was nice to have a market that was really moving,
Yeah.
but I was used to like negotiating. And
Mhm.
that to me is like the fun of real estate is negotiations. And I hated not being able to negotiate. I hated it. So like you'd have to, it was just so stressful. Like you'd have a buyer, like, I have to see it today
Mm.
or else they're not going to get in. And then it was like the wild, wild west out there. Like people were just doing all kind like nobody knew how to handle it. And so it took a little while to kind of put together systems and processes for people to follow that, that not just us as a brokerage, but also collectively, like as an industry, to kind of figure out like how do we navigate this? Like, how does a
Yeah.
house come on the market and 5 minutes later you got like 20 off? I mean, that's not how real estate's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just
So it was a big adjustment. And I actually saw a lot of agents pull back during that time that had been in the industry for a while because they really weren't sure
like,
how to represent their client properly. And we hated what is it? People were doing like waiving inspections. We hated waiving
what do
inspections.
you be like, home inspections?
Yes, like
You could waive those? Really?
they were back then because of the multiple offer situations. People were waiving their home inspections and buying houses without having a home inspection, which to us was just unfathomable. I'm like, I would never want to buy a house without having a home inspection.
That
So we made a stance as a company at that time that we were really going to push people to try to have their home inspection, even if it was before they wrote the offer.
mhm,
Like we tried to get a home inspector in, so that way they could waive it on their offer. And I will gladly say that my husband and I think we only had 2 contracts for the whole 3 or 4 years of craziness that waived home inspections. So we really fought for people to get those. But
yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy time.
That is real dang, I did not realize, like, the demand was that strong, like, waiving a ho I mean, especially if it's, like, a residential, like,
Yes.
that is oh, that is so
It's
risky.
cringy. It really is.
That is so risky, like, you could just lose everything if something's wrong,
And
basically.
not only that, but then we saw houses coming back on the market like in 2024, 2023, where people were selling it, and then the people were having home inspections, and they're finding out there's mold in my attic. What?
Uh,
And they realized they never had a home inspection, so they were just living in a house that had all these issues because they never went back and, like,
and it
had it
might not
done.
even be their fault, it's like
No, it probably wasn't their fault. They just didn't know because they waived it at the time. So yeah, there's a lot of the one thing I really love about real estate is like all the intricacies about it. And people just I hate that people just think realtors just open doors. They're like, "Oh, you
yeah,
guys just open doors." I'm like, "No, we don't just open doors. There's so much value that having a good agent brings to people."
yes,
And I think that in our industry we need to do better at explaining what that value looks like and what it is. And agents need to do better because they don't teach that in the 3-week class that you take to become an agent. Like, there's nothing in there that teaches anybody, like, how to run a business and how to facilitate transactions and the processes and all the things that you need as
yeah,
an agent, and I feel like that's where brokerages sometimes fall short, and that's one of the things and the goals that we have for our agents is just really giving them a strong track to run on so that they're not just doing real estate as a hobby, but they're doing it as a true business, you
yeah.
know?
When did you kind of when you started in 2015 Mainstream Realty Pros, was it just this is only gonna be, like, our investments, and eventually you guys were like, "Hey, maybe we'll bring in some agents?" Or was it from the start like, "Hey, we're gonna also let's
I
platform for agents?"
No, I never thought about bringing on agents. We were just gonna do our own little team thing, but we started having agents approach us and want to be a part of our company, and we were kept telling them no.
Mhm,
I was like, "No, we're not really set up for that. We're just set up for team," kinda like teamage is what I call it. I'm like, "So sorry, we're not really taking people. If that changes, I'll let you know," kinda thing. And so that's kinda what happened, and then, when I took that hiatus and worked for that other company, I was just a broker, like, literally just brokering. I wasn't doing any real estate, myself. My husband was running our whole real estate side. So I kinda got a chance to put my toe in the water, and I liked it. I was like, I like this because it kinda combined a lot of my past of, like, training and just helping people and, putting processes and systems together for people, and it married it with the real estate side. And so, my stay at that company, we were able to recruit some agents through there, and they all decided to stay with us. So, when we switched over to mainstream, that's kinda how we started with, like, 20 agents and just
Mhm.
came over to that. And
Yeah.
kind of been maintaining that ever since, um, and just love it. I just love what we've built as far as the culture and the agents that we attract.
Mm. Is your brokerage more focused on investments, or is it also, like are your agents also doing residential real estate as well?
Yeah, so we hardly do any investments as a real estate company.
Really?
Yeah, we do have people that invest. Like we have people that do Airbnb, short-term rental.
Mm.
We have some agents that do like commercial, and I think quite a few of our agents own like rental property and that sort of thing. But we haven't really been an investment forward brokerage, or as far as my husband's and I's business for a long time. Like, we totally do mostly retail, residential real estate. We still have investors that buy investment properties. We still, sell properties to investors through, like, wholesalers and things like that. But no, our big focus is not that. Our big focus is mainly real estate agents and
Uh,
helping them to build healthy real estate businesses.
when did that focus shift kind of from the
Um,
away from the investing side?
I wanna say from the investment side, probably around, like, 2018,
Mhm.
probably around then.
Was there a reason for that, or was it just kind of how the market moved?
I think it was some to do with the market, because there just wasn't as many investment opportunities available at that time. But I also think just my passion kinda changed.
Uh,
Um, Investing is I still love investing, and I think I plan to build more of a portfolio as my husband and I get older. But I think for me, the passion just became helping agents now. Like, seeing agents struggling and just knowing that my husband and I found something that really works for us and our family and allowed us to do everything that we have in our life, and just enjoy raising our girls and homeschooling. I really just started to see that that was more of a need for people.
mhm.
Because when I see agents, a lot of times I feel like they're kind of like in this hustle mode
Yeah.
where they're chasing, 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 and wearing themselves out. And my compassionate mama side is just like, hey, there's a better way. Um, and if people are open to hearing more about that better way, like, I'm more than happy to teach them that, where they don't have to live in this hustle. I feel like it's a whole, like, vibe
Yeah.
right now, like hustle culture and all that. And I'm not saying you don't hustle in real estate, but what I'm saying is that it shouldn't be where people are basically stressing themselves out and wearing themselves out, trying to find deals and trying to do all that. So I'm kinda just anti that in a way.
What do you teach your agents kind of is some of your agents, like, newer agents, or is these more experienced?
We have a combination of both. So we got agents who have been around in the business. Um, this will tell you how long. Some of them have a six-digit number, which was the last year they handed out six-digit license numbers was 2000.
Oh, dang.
So my license number was a six-digit to begin with. Then when you become a broker, they changed it, so now it's like 2015 number. But
Yeah.
so I lost my six-digit number. But we have agents with six-digit numbers, like, and then I have some that just got licensed this year. I think that, when it comes to, like, our agents, I think the biggest thing that we do, or the biggest thing that I'd say that they're attracted to, is the fact that we are very hands-on,
Mhm.
you know? So, whether you're new or whether you're not new, um, I answer my phone.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm a broker. So, most brokers at most companies are there just to keep the company legal, and then they have managers and people that are over offices, and they might have hundreds of agents that they're
Yeah.
managing and watching over. Where with us, I mean, it's like a family style. It's like, "Hey, I got a question," and they can just call me, and I answer my phone,
Dang.
and they get a question. But I think most of it is just I really just want people to build their business right from the beginning,
Yeah.
and I feel like most agents haphazardly end up with a real estate business, and they're like, "Oh, wait, I have a business. Let me see what I need to do with this." And it's like, "Okay, let's start there from the beginning so you can build it on the right foundation, and you're not having to be like us, where you get 11 years into the business and then realize my foundation sucks. And if the
Yeah.
market crashes, I'm screwed." Where now those things don't bother me. I don't care what happens with interest rates. I don't care what happens with inflation, all those things,
Yeah.
because cracked the code on, like, having my town. And my town are people that are dedicated to me and dedicated to my husband and I as their agents.
What do you teach? Because I'm interested specifically like newer real estate agents, like the
Mhm.
20-year-olds just out of like maybe they're dropped out of college. They didn't feel like college was for them.
Yeah,
What would you
that was me.
what would you recommend for them? Because it's like a lot of because like on social media, the prevailing like the dominant mentality is like grind, 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 7 days a week, like always client showing 8 p.m. on a Saturday, go and show up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, what would you be like telling them to do instead to kind of get the town, get the people where you're the mayor?
Yeah, so the first thing I think that people need to do is they need to learn the art of communication. So real estate is 100% communication and conversation. And so what I notice people do, here's what most people do. I'll just start there. They'll buy leads or they get leads.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But in order to convert a lead, guess what you have to know how to do?
Talk with them, kind of.
Communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to learn how to communicate. You need to know how to have conversations with people, and you need to learn how to be a good listener. And a lot of real estate is learning to read between the lines. It's learning how to, when you're listening to someone, you can find the pain point in their situation and find the solution to the pain point. So, a lot of what I teach people is just to start having conversations with people. Many agents I've seen, they get into business and they start spending like thousands of dollars on leads. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing if you have the money, but if you don't have the money, here's what I tell them, like, take out your phone. Like, Vlad, do you have your phone with you? You probably don't.
Yeah.
You do. Like, how many people do you think you have in your phone? How many contacts?
Contacts?
So,
I think like 150.
150. You know 150 people right now.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to get 150 leads through some of the lead sources that we have that are available to agents, do you know how much that would cost you?
Oh, I'm gonna say $1,000 just as a guess.
No, more than that.
Really?
Yes. If
Dang.
you call any of the big lead companies right now and want an area to work for leads, they're gonna tell you you're probably gonna get between 4 to 5 direct connects a month per location, maybe more. Somebody's gonna come back and say, "Well, I get this and I get that." That's fine, but for the most part, and the most of those areas are starting out at between $500 to $800 a month.
Oh wow.
And many of the agents I know that want the better areas are paying upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 a month. That's just a single agent. Right? And so what happens is, this is the pattern I see.
Mhm.
They do this, they chase those 4 to 5, and the whole time, their mother's friend has a daughter that's looking for a home. Or the person they used to work with at the coffee shop, guess what? They just got married. They need to buy a house.
Mm.
They like the post on their friend's page that says, "We're pregnant," and they never look at the opportunity.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that there's gold in your backyard. Like, there's people all over the place that are going to be making the decision to level up or to downsize or to all the things if you just open your eyes and see them
Yeah.
and then understand and learn how to help those people make that transition. And so leads should be free. Like,
Mhm.
you should be able to go anywhere today and talk to 5 people every day
Yeah.
and meet somebody new for free.
When
So
how did you kind of realize that, like, kind of, like, because everyone
after
talks ab
spending, like, $25,000 on leads and not getting one closing and thinking
Really?
what a waste of money that is,
When was this? Like, when was
that would have been 2000. That was probably around 2009.
2009?
It was right when, like, leads were starting to become a thing, and it may have been, I don't know, I might be wrong on the dates, but it was somewhere around there, and my husband and I were like, "Yeah, let's try this, let's do this," and then what you find is, I mean, it's a long-term play. I mean, most of the people that you get through leads, they're not immediate, they're not now
Yeah.
people, so you have to learn how to work them, you have to learn how to stay in contact with them, you have to learn all the same. What I started to see is all the same skill sets that people had to learn to work leads is the same exact skill sets that you learn to build relationships with people around you.
Mhm.
The difference is one's more fun
And
and
it's
costs you a
free.
lot less
Uh,
money.
yeah, probably would.
I mean, you do have to spend money at some point, but I mean, it's a lot less than what you would spend on, buying hundreds of leads. And I think the percentage of conversions, like 5%.
Yeah.
So for every 100, you might have 5 closings out of that.
Yeah, I'm no, I'm just like thinking of like realtors that I know personally, and I know some of them that are like up into like the tens of thousands
Oh, easy.
for leads.
If you have a real estate team, you're probably spending at least 15 to 25,000 a month on leads.
That is
A
crazy.
good producing team. Yeah.
And then how many of your agents do they pay for leads?
None.
None of them? Oh my gosh, wow. How do you teach them, like, recommend them to kind of get their name out there, to have, like, their circle, that their town know that
Mhm.
they're a realtor?
So a lot of times when I sit with people, that one of the other things I like to teach agents is about their brand.
Mhm.
And so who are you? What do you like to do? So if I was sitting with you,
Yeah.
I would say, Vlad, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Huh, I guess volleyball?
Volleyball.
Okay, yeah.
That sounds fun. Where do you play volleyball at?
I play at Cypress Church.
Oh, cool. So is that like a league or something?
Oh, it's like a church league thing. Yeah.
Okay. How many of those people know you're a real estate agent?
Well, yeah, none.
Why?
Never thought to share, I guess.
And why didn't you think to share it?
I guess one thing I do wanna point out is, like, what about your agents that are scared to be pushy? Because like, it's not like you wanna go to, like,
That
a
is always the
church.
thing. That's what I'm getting to because I know exactly where you're gonna go is I don't wanna seem pushy. I don't wanna seem salesy. I don't want to ruin my friendships and my family and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody says, but you're
Uh-huh.
perfectly fine doing that with a stranger.
Mhm. Makes sense. Yeah,
Why?
yeah, with, like, a lead,
Why?
like,
Why
you don't
that
know them, that's the thing.
but you're going to,
Hmm.
and they're gonna work with you. Why are they gonna work with you? It's not because you're pushy and salesy.
Yeah,
The reason they're gonna work with you is because you offered value, you probably showed up with something to educate them,
yeah.
and you were friendly and kind and a good person.
Mhm. So
You're all those things to your family and friends too. They
yes.
just don't know you can help them.
Yeah. I'm not even a real estate agent. I'm about to go, like, to start telling people, like, "Wow, oh my gosh, that's like."
That's the point. It's a mindset shift. It's just saying, "Hey," like I said, if anybody tells me they don't have somebody to talk to, I'm like, "Where are you at? Like, are you just sitting in your home all day?"
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting at home all day, you're not gonna meet people. And
Yeah.
guess what you need to have a real estate transaction? You need people. And here's the thing too, a lot of times those people playing volleyball, if you just listened instead if you were just intentional about listening, you would start to hear what's
Yeah.
happening. They would say, "Oh my gosh, I just got engaged." And you'd say, "Oh, that's so awesome. That's great." And guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a note, whether it's in my phone or whatever, "Just got engaged today. When's your date gonna be?" "We haven't set it yet, but probably next fall."
Mm,
Okay, they're gonna start thinking about a home about 8 months before that date.
and
So
then
guess who's gonna be there? Hey, I'm not gonna say anything right then, like, "Oh, by the way, do you know I'm a real estate agent and I can help you guys find a home because you're gonna wanna buy a home?" Like, I'm not gonna do that. But I'm gonna say, "Hey, I know you guys are renting right now. I saw this cute little such and so and so over here. I don't know if you guys have thought about buying a home and if you knew that I even did that, but this might be a really good option for you guys."
mhm, like, yeah. I think
Whatever.
one thing that I really like that you talked about, and actually I met with a real estate agent. It was actually we talked about this on the podcast too.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about real estate agents are sometimes very scared to just sell. And we're like they're constantly thinking like, "Oh, I don't want to be too pushy. I don't want to be like pressuring them into a home." But it's
Mhm.
not really pressure, it's more of you're showing the value of what
Yes.
you do, which is showing them the
I
expertise.
have a term that I have coined.
Ooh, what is it?
So and I have documented this, so if anybody tries to come back and say it's theirs, they can't, is sellocate.
Huh.
So that's what you have to get good at. You have to get good at educating people. If you educate people,
Mhm.
if you learn how to educate people where it's their own idea, you'll never have to sell them anything.
Yeah.
So if you were talking to me and you said, um, "Yeah, we're getting married next year," I might say, "Have you guys picked a venue?" And they'll be like, "Well, no, we don't know. We're thinking." "Well, let me know. I have connections. I can help you guys find a venue." Why? Because I do.
Yeah.
I know like all these venues. I've been to like 20,000,000 weddings. So I mean, that's probably an exaggeration, but I've been to a lot of weddings.
Yeah.
So I just start to offer to educate them, to connect them, to help them.
Mhm.
And I think when you start helping people and you start filling needs for them, not just real estate needs, but any need, you start to become their need meter in a sense of like, I'm going to call Mark and Alicia before I do this because they probably know someone or are going to save me money or time
Mhm.
in anything they do, especially in real estate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that when you start building that kind of rapport with people and you start becoming that person who's like, "Hey," instead of saying, "Hey, I just sold 70 houses last year and I sold 20 million in volume last year.
Or like, I'm the
Let's
number one
change."
agent.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Let's change the story, right?
Mm.
So here's the story. My mom's friend, she inherited her brother's house. He passed away and he was blind.
Oh.
So he lived in this house blind. It was needless to say, it was in very bad condition.
Mhm.
She was getting offers from people in the neighborhood and wholesalers for significantly less than what it was worth. It was on almost an acre in Plain City and a ranch on
Oh,
top of
wow.
that. So she contacted me, and her posture when she contacted me was, "Alicia, I don't think you can help me, but your mom made me call you." That's basically what happened. And I said, "Well, tell me about your situation." She told me about her situation. She told me the offers she was getting, and I said, "Do you trust that I can get you good information?" I didn't say, "Can you trust me?"
Mhm.
"Do you trust that I can get you good information?" "Well, yeah, I do. If your mom says you can do it, I know you can do it." "Okay, let me see what I can do." I was able to connect her with a local auction company, Auction Ohio. I'll give them a little shout out because without them, this wouldn't have happened. Um, and they were able to come in. They were able to alleviate her pain of cleaning out the home. They were still able to get all their wonderful items they wanted to keep out of the home that were sentimental, but everything else they took care of. We were able to put it up on auction, and she ended up selling the home for, I think it was 115,000 more than the highest offer that she got off market.
Oh, wow. Dang.
So when she called me, she was depressed, she was sad, she was grieving, and trying to figure all this stuff out. She was getting ready to get on depression medication. By calling us and us helping her give her choices, now I didn't tell her what to do, but I said, "Look, here's some options. Do any of these think do you think any of these would work for you?"
Mhm.
"Yes, that would work for me." "Wonderful. Let's put it in motion." Right? I just facilitated it.
Yeah.
Um, she went from literally within the first day I talked to her, she called me back and said, "I slept last night."
Oh, wow.
That's the kind of stuff to me, that's what I do. I don't open doors, I don't do that. I look for those opportunities in every person I meet. And that's a lifestyle. To me, it's a lifestyle, right? It's
Yeah.
you have to be the kind of person if you're gonna work that the way that we work, you have to have the mindset that we have, right? Like, you can't say, "I'm going to be a great referral agent who has a m who's a mayor of my town," and you're a horrible mayor who doesn't do the best will of the people in your group, and you don't take care of people, and you don't show up for people, and you're not willing to hold their hand when they're crying or being there when they lose a child or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna be the mayor, you gotta be the mayor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, it's not for everybody, honestly, like, having a business that way is not for everybody because some people just want the one and done, and I don't wanna have a relationship, I don't wanna deal with it, I just wanna get my transaction over and go on to the next one,
Yeah.
and that's definitely a business model, and it works too. There's just it's just a matter of what works best for you and your personality.
How do you advise agents, especially if, like, let's say, like, if the agent went up to you today from your brokerage and they're like, "Hey, so I don't have anyone that's like in my sphere." Is it more of just they haven't contacted the right person, or is it they need to go and maybe like
They
go
need
to
to
some
add people.
community
They
events,
need to
or
add people.
how would they go about doing that? You would.
However it is that they wanna go about doing it, so they could buy leads if they want to. But I just make sure the agents know before you buy leads, this is what you have to do. This is the commitment level that you have to have. No matter what they do, there's going to be a commitment level, but you can do open houses to find people. You can go to events. A lot of people don't understand that they're already sitting in it.
Mhm.
Just like you said, I play volleyball. How often do you play volleyball?
Once a week, I guess. Yeah.
So every week, you're around the same people every week.
Mhm.
They're part of your town. You just don't know it.
And it's more of just like opening up your eyes and ears, kind of to,
Yeah.
hey, like there is someone next to you, like
Yeah.
your
Like,
friend.
are you like you're involved in a church? I'm involved in church as well. A lot of my sphere goes to my church.
Mhm.
So I talk to those people and they become part of my town. Because why? Because we are in relationship with each other on a consistent level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How do you create that? I love to crochet. It's just a new hobby I started in 2020. That sounds like so old lady, but I do. I like crocheting and I like crocheting like little blankets for like my clients when they have babies and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so I learned that by hosting a crochet class for a lady who didn't have the space in her home. And she was like, "Hey, you want to learn to crochet. I want to teach a class to crochet. Can we team up? And I said, sure. Through that, I met new people. And those people, if you really truly want to learn about someone and who they are, it's natural. Like if you've ever or read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Yeah.
and when you start to learn about somebody, it's natural for them to want to learn about you. And
Makes sense.
so
Yeah.
a lot of times when people, I don't ever have to tell somebody I'm in real estate because I've asked them enough questions and got to know them enough that they say, so what do you do? Because they're like, gosh, I've been talking about myself. Alicia's been asking all these questions. And so then they say, what do you do? And I go, oh, actually, I'm a real estate agent,
Mhm.
and they go, I didn't know that. And then it just starts this whole, and then by then they're like, so what do you think about the market? What do you think about this? Da, 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 da. And it just naturally flows into a conversation. So to me, I have equated that we have a system of following up with our people in our town. Okay. Just like anybody has a system for following up with you. Like I think agents think, oh, yeah, I need a system. Okay. Like what do you buy? Every person has a system for following up with you. Like I order this certain protein I like. Guess what? They send me stuff in my email
Yeah.
and they remind me, Alicia, this is why you need the protein. You know what I mean? Like everybody does it. So we do too. And so our system, and I think if you have a business, you should be able to quantify, okay, if I follow up with so many people with the system, this is what I will make. So what I tell agents is your households in your database. So I don't know, you said 150 people in your phone. Let's say out of those 30 of them end up in your database, right?
Mm.
I can take the average. I have a formula that I use to equate what each one of those people is worth to you per year if you follow our system. It's
Oh.
about $1,300 a year. So if you take 30 times 1,300, that should be how much gross commission you made if you're
Oh.
doing the system right. So if an agent comes to me and they say, I'm not getting enough people or I'm not getting enough closings, I say, how many people are you currently working the system? And if they say 5, I say, that's why. Because that's like one closing maybe, you
Yes.
know? And so I tell them, I'm like, we need to add more people. So then it becomes a game of who can I add?
Yeah.
So I tell them, I'm like, if you could just add one person a week that you build genuine relationship with over the next year, then you take that's 52 new people times that by your 1,300. It's roughly going to be what, around 75,000 or so in gross commission.
Yeah.
So most of agents come to me, they want to make 100,000. That's usually
Yeah.
the magic number that people want to do. And so we just do the formula and figure it out. The thing is they have to follow through to work their town, right? To do the things that the mayor needs to do for the town, if that makes sense.
Mhm. How do you teach your agents to, I guess, kind of follow through? Because a lot of agents, like, there's a lot of stuff in like the real estate industry. There's a lot of gurus, and honestly, there's a lot of different ways of making it. Like,
Yeah.
I actually, this is gonna be really funny, but I talked with a guy, and he said like he doesn't follow up,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, so how do you like make sure your agents are like, hey, they're actually sticking to the system, and it's not like, oh, like let me go to the next guru, let me go to this guy, let me go to this guy, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think the biggest problem that most agents have is that they're trying to do everything themselves.
Mhm.
So a lot of what our follow-up system is, it's kind of just like a proven system that shows if we send this and we do this and we do that, coupled with personal touches that it works. So we try to, as a brokerage, fill that gap. So we try to offer to automate whatever we can automate, but still give it that personal touch that it looks like it came directly from that agent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think outsourcing some of that stuff is probably a good idea if it's not a personal touch. But other than that, it's a mindset. It's about why aren't you doing it? And I have agents that don't do it either. Like we tell them like, look, you should be handwriting note cards to people. You should be talking to people. You should be calling and checking up on people. Do they always do it? No, they
Yeah.
don't. Um, so then I just have to, it's just more about asking them, why don't you do it?
And then, yeah.
Because there's a blockage somewhere and you have to find out what that blockage is. And it's usually a mindset problem. It's usually I feel like I'm bothering them is usually the thing I say, or I don't think they're going to want to hear from me.
Mhm.
The only reason they don't want to hear from you is if you're trying to sell them something.
But if you're genuinely reaching out to them, if you're genuinely just following up with them,
Yeah,
or
I never call people and talk about real estate. I My calls are always like, "Hey Vlad, how's it going?"
I can confirm, yeah.
Like, or like, "Hey, it's Alicia, you crossed my mind today." And this is true on it. Like, my whole goal this year is when someone crosses my mind, I reach out. Like, that's the only goal I've set for myself, like, as a overarching across my life,
Mhm.
because there's a reason why people come to your mind, right?
Yeah.
And people come to our mind all the time. We talk ourselves out of it.
Yeah.
And so I just am and that's that impulsive side of me. I'm like, "Okay, so and so crossed my mind. I'm gonna send him a text right now, or I'm gonna send him an audio message right now, or I'm gonna make a video right now and just say, 'Hey, I was thinking about you. I hope you're doing good. The last time we talked, the kids were doing this. What's up?'" And I'm just gonna put it out there because people don't care about you until you care about them, you know? So I think it's just a matter of, and to me, that's where the freedom in this business comes, and that's where the individualistic way of you doing things comes. Because what works for me and what I do and is authentic to me is not gonna be the same thing that you do,
Yeah.
you know? Like, my husband's way of following up with people is stupid comic jokes. Like, he printed out an old comic, and it said, what did it say? "I would like to buy a bagel with cream cheese." And the guy working behind the counter says, "We only take cash." Okay, so and my daughter was like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "He wants to buy a bagel with cream cheese. Give it." Like, it's just some silly, dumb joke, but it's more like a dad joke, but
Yeah.
that's my husband's personality. So all the people he sends that to love them because it's who he is. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
So when you're training your real estate agents, how do you help them figure out what is their thing? Because maybe not, because like not all of your agents are going to be like the type where, hey, like let me go and send a voice message.
Right.
Like some of them are going to be like, ah, I don't know about like that person or
Yeah.
something. How do you help them find that?
They just gotta try some things. And I think in the beginning when you're new, you just gotta be willing to do whatever they tell you to do.
Hmm. And it's kind of just like see what happens.
You just have to try it. For us, I'm not changing my methods for anyone. I think I know what works. It's
Hmm.
been working for us for years. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we consistently do the same amount of business every year. I have added no more hours to my schedule. If anything, I've gotten more efficient. Um, we have done nothing super fancy.
Yeah.
We haven't bought like the latest greatest whatevers. Like, it's just good old fashioned simple doing the my husband calls it the unsexy things. Like, they're not sexy, they're not new, they're not AI, they're not blah blah blah. I use AI every day, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anti-AI, I love AI, but I think that it doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's very simple.
Hmm.
I just think that sometimes in the simplicity, people think that it's not worth doing,
Yeah.
but it is.
What do you think about social media then? Kind of.
I love social media.
But so you kind of use it with the whole entire reaching out, like sending voice message, like following up with people?
So I it's funny, I use social media for keeping in contact with people. I also use social media to kind of further my brand and my personality. So if you go to my Instagram, especially my Instagram, like my stories and stuff, that you will see what I think about, you will see who I am, what I believe. It's very clear, who I am. Like, I'm a faith-based person. It's a very big part of my life. You will see that my daughter loves horses, and we go to horse things. And you will see I love my doodles. I have 2 doodle dogs, golden doodles, and I love them very much. And then you'll see me doing real estate stuff. I like to go out to lunch with my clients. I like to take pictures with them when I'm out. And so just those type of things. And so you're gonna see that. I'll occasionally post some information about real estate, or like, I might occasionally post like, "Hey, there's a property," or something like that. But it's really not about that for me on my Instagram, my personal Instagram. It's really just about like, who's Alicia? So if you
Yeah.
go there, you'll find out whether you like me or not really quickly. And that's okay. Like, I'm not for everybody. But I'm not saying there's not power in somebody. Like, a lot of younger people, the way they use social media to me is genius. And I love it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Like, I think that you need to do you, right? Like, whatever is authentic to you and what you want to represent and who you are in your brand, you just need to show up for it and do it.
Mhm, and it's more of just trying all the different things until you realize, like, this
I don't
is
know about that. I think that some people have a natural bend to certain things.
mhm,
So one of my newer agents, Denisha's her name, we were sitting and talking, and she's not from here. She's
mhm,
doesn't have a lot of family and friends, and we were talking about, hey, and her sphere, she felt like her sphere was overworked because it's overlapping with a lot of other people and realtors. And I said, okay, well, what do you like to do other than being a mom of 3 young kids? Because that's already a big job. And she has an opera background.
Mhm.
And I said, "That's really cool." And what happened was she sent me a headshot and it was absolutely stunning. And I said, "Girl, where is this is so like glamour."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, those are my opera days." It wasn't unusual for her to be in like a $20,000 gown for some of these operas.
Oh, wow, dang.
And she's like, "I'm actually getting back into it." I said, "Interesting." I said, "Hmm." I said, "I think that that is going to be a niche for you." Why do I think that? She's going into people's homes. She teaches opera. She teaches vocal health and lessons. She's naturally gonna be in that. She doesn't have room to add more stuff. She's got 3 kids already. Opera just happens to be a very affluent place for people. So you're gonna run into a lot of luxury and people. So I was like, "Your brand's definitely gotta be on point when it comes to luxury." And so she's High Note Homes. So she came up with that name, but we really just sat down and brainstormed about, like, who she is and what she likes to do and what's natural for her. I had another agent that came to me, she was getting ready to quit the business. We sat down. I think her niece is the one who was with us at the time, and she said, "You need to meet with my aunt." And I said, "What's going on?" She's like, "She's ready to quit. She's ready to put her license back." I said, "Sure, I'll meet with her." So I sat and met with her, and during talking to her, she's like, "I just can't seem to get anything going."
Mm.
And I said, "Well, tell me about just like what you're doing. Tell me about how'd you end up here? What happened?" Come to find out, she managed 300 people at a government job for years. And I said, "Do they still talk to you?" And she goes, "Well, yeah, they love talking to me. They were really sad when I left." I said, "The fact that you worked at a government job and they still like you tells me a lot about you as a person." Because, right? Most
Yeah.
people at the government jobs are like, "I hate it. My managers suck."
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people. My mom actually retired from a government job. So I know kind of the speak. And I said, "What do they know? Do they know you're a realtor?" And she goes, "No." I said, "Why haven't you crossed those lines?" Because if they trusted you and they still talk to you and that means they admire you and they respect you as a person. Because when you leave a job, it's the perfect opportunity to say, "Don't have to talk to them anymore."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said, "But they're choosing to still talk to you." I said, "That means that they probably respect your opinion on some things." And she's like, "I never thought about it that way." She's still doing business today. She's not with us anymore, but I see her closing houses.
Yeah.
And a lot of that just started with her reaching out to those 300 people and introducing herself as someone who wants to help them.
M
That's it.
More of putting yourself in an advisor role rather than just putting yourself as, "Hey, I'm a
Yes.
realtor salesman trying to get my next commission check."
Right.
Instead of, "Hey, I think this could be, like, the perfect home for you," kind of thing.
Or just, "Hey, I'm here if you need a trusted," we actually call ourselves trusted advisor. If you need a trusted advisor in the real estate space, that's who we wanna be. And we're not shy about, like, telling people, like, when we work with clients, if we sorry those who don't get this invite. If we like you, we tell you we wanna be in contact with you forever.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of our gig is, like, you are part of our sphere now. You're part of our town. There's benefits to being in our town, glad. I'm not saying, like, it's just all about us.
Yeah.
There's benefits to being in our town. We just gave out a $10 gift card to all the people in our town to go to Hoover Gardens last month, so they could spend it on flowers or a plant for their house or whatever, gift for their mother, whatever. And this month, we're giving away, Buckeyes to the peanut shop.
Yeah.
So we have there's perks to being in our town. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
That's kind of like they get something out of it too, not just like, "Oh, you get the business," and that's
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, and some of those people will never buy a house again, and we know it. Like, they're never gonna be people that will ever buy a home,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean they're not still part of our town. Because every member of our database, they're handpicked. They're people we want to be in contact with because we like them, we respect them, we enjoy their company, we look forward to taking their phone call, we look forward to helping them whatever way they need, not just real estate. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
I think that when you get to handpick and choose the people you work with, it makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy working with my people. If I ever feel like if I go to pick up the phone and I have a feeling like, "Ugh, I don't know if I really wanna talk to this person," they don't stay. They
Hmm.
get out. I release them from my database.
Yeah. How do you take this idea of, like, the town and the mayor and kind of now with the brokerage?
Mhm.
Kind of like dealing with agents because you have to keep agents happy, you have to have agents come in. Maybe you need maybe it's like where you need to kind of, like, not kick out agents, but, like, So
I honestly, it's the I work my brokerage the same way that I work my real estate business. I will never cold call a real estate agent. So I nope, I won't because I won't cold call people. I'm not a cold caller. Never have been. I've done it.
yeah,
Um, I just end up talking to people. I mean, like, it's kind of fun. We had a cold calling session once, and it was a lot of fun. But I'm just not the kind of person who's gonna cold call like 100 people in a phone book or on a
no,
line. That
it's
tells you how old I am because I used to cold call out of the phone book. But anyway, but upload it into like a dialer system and call people. Now, I don't not saying I won't like circle prospect.
yeah,
I'm not even against cold calling. It's just not me.
yeah,
Like, I'm just not gonna do it. I don't like when I get cold called. Like, that to me is a definitely a mindset problem, and I admit it, and I'm just not gonna instead of trying to overcome it, I've just decided I'm gonna go a different way.
yeah,
Um, but I think that, yeah, just I just think agents need to understand that, like, you just have to find things that you like to do. Now, I have an agent who loves to cold call. She will sit and cold call, like, 50 people a day.
really, dang,
She loves
that's
it.
a different type of
And I
realtor.
but I'm down with that. Like, I think, again, it comes down to, like, what you like to do,
Mm,
right? But I am when it comes to the agents, like, growing our brokerage, which is something I've been honestly working on, I've struggled with that a little bit, because I think I had the wrong mindset because I was listening to, like, how other people did it. And this is the same thing we get into with when we're agents. We compare ourselves like, "Well, that's how they did it, so I should do it that way."
yeah,
Or that's how this worked, and they say that's, like, successful every time. And I had to just have an honest conversation with myself and say, "Alicia, are you gonna actually do that?" And the answer was no. And so what I had to go back to what are my strengths and what do I do? I train, I educate. So that's what I do. I hold workshops, I train, I do like a morning phone call where I help encourage and educate agents in the mornings that follow the same kind of like system that we do with the referral based system. And I'm just kind of building my tribe. I'm just building the people that understand the value of what we do and how we do it. And it's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But the whole key is you're not gonna be for everybody. You just wanna attract the people that wanna be around you, you know? Like,
hmm,
if you move to Columbus, it's because you like Columbus or there's something here for you. If you move to our brokerage, it's because you like it and there's something there for you.
yeah, it's not just like, "Oh, where can I get the best split at the brokerage or
Yeah.
agent?" Like, that kind of thing, like
That's not even a conversation I have with the agents that talk to me.
mhm,
Usually when agents talk to me, it's not even about split at that time. It's because they're in a situation where they need to make a decision. Most of the agents I'm talking to, they're at a situation where they're like, "I'm not doing well. I only closed 2 deals last year or 3 deals last year. My business is going down, and I need help,"
mhm,
because they've never been taught how to build a predictable business. And commission life can be predictable.
yeah,
I think that some people think that's an oxymoron, but it's not. Like, you can have a predictable business and be on commission in real estate. It's doable.
that is a
Like,
very big claim. That is very big.
it's well, I know, I do it. You know what I mean? Like, we have several agents that have done it and continue to do it.
Mm,
So, that's I just think it's not, you know, it's
yeah,
not gonna be as sexy as some of the stuff you're gonna see out there, but I guarantee you, it's
it's
like,
possible.
if you have a recipe that works and every time you make it, people say, "Oh, this is the best recipe."
Yeah.
And you go to share that recipe and they say, "Well, I added a little bit of this and it didn't turn out the same."
Yeah, and then
You
it's
know?
like, could be something different, different air in there or something.
It could be a lot of things, but my whole point is if you want the same success, you gotta follow the same recipe, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna get the same perfect chocolate chip cookie if you change out
Yeah,
I always look at the blogs and people do, like, those recipe blogs where it's like, "I was born in a da da da," and by the time you get to the recipe, you're like, "Oh my god, just give me the recipe," and then you look at the reviews and they go, "Well, I changed because I didn't have this and I put this in. I didn't have this, so I used butter instead, and it didn't turn out," and you're like, because you didn't follow the recipe. It's like the
yeah,
same thing. I think, there's certain things that work in real estate and what's funny, I don't feel like I teach anything that doesn't work everywhere.
mhm.
Like, it doesn't matter where you get the person or the lead from, you could follow the same thing and have the same success. It just
So
comes down to people don't do it.
mhm. Basically yeah,
Me.
what does the future look like for you? Kind of with the brokerage, kind of with coaching agents, like basically mentoring them. Is there a future for that eventually that you think is more than just the brokerage?
I love this question because I'm always like a forward thinker. I definitely see continuing doing the brokerage. I have to sell myself out on having a brokerage all the time. Just like I tell my agents, like they wake up unemployed every day. I wake up unemployed every day. Like
Mm,
I only want people here because they want to be here, because they choose us. Like I'm never going to be the broker that like locks people in to say you have to stay with me for so much time or this or that. So that's never gonna change for me. Um, I just wanna build more people
mhm.
that want to follow that way of doing their business, and I just wanna educate more agents to do that. However that looks, whether it's through the brokerage or through, doing coaching for agents that are outside of our brokerage. I think there's an opportunity there for agents who want that kinda lifestyle, but they're not in my market,
Yeah.
and so I see that as definitely something that we're gonna offer more in the future.
But back to the real part. But basically, kind of as the closing question, for the new agents that are starting off, what would be like your three biggest tips? Like, this is how you should start off. This is how you should approach potential clients or your sphere. What would you recommend for them?
Okay. I think the first thing that every person should do is have a grand opening party.
Really?
Yeah,
Like, kind of as a realtor? Like,
yeah. You're a new business. I think you should have a grand opening and you should invite your friends and family and people to come and celebrate you and to celebrate what you're doing. Um, that's something that I mean, a lot of businesses do that. They do soft launches and then they end up having like grand openings and those type of things. And maybe come up with like a really great marketing strategy around that, like what you're going to offer people or what you're going to do and follow through with it. I think that's one of the biggest things. The second thing is anybody who owns a home, you should be doing a CMA on their home and offering them a free market analysis.
mhm.
I don't care who they are. They could be your neighbor, they could be your mom's friend, they could be your mom. If you're nervous about doing that, you can just say, "Hey, I'm practicing doing CMAs. Do you mind if I do one for you?" And they're gonna say, "Absolutely, little Jimmy," because they they want you to succeed, right? So I think that we overlook what's right in front of our face.
Mm.
People always wanna know their home value. They always wanna know that. Anybody that owns a home wants to know their home value.
Yeah, and Zillow's not gonna really cut it.
So when you're driving no, because 'cause they're wrong, like, most of the time, and it's kinda twofold. It teaches you how to do the MLS and do a CMA, and obviously you need to sit with somebody to teach you that. But then it also helps you to start having conversations with people, which is my third thing, is you need to be communicating with 5 new people every day,
Where do you find these people?
wherever,
Coffee shop, library, wherever,
wherever,
basically?
whatever you're doing, do it. You go to your kid's school. Instead of sitting in your car or whatever, get out, say hi to the teacher. "Hey, what's the biggest challenge I can help you with in the class? Is there something I can do?" Start asking questions about how you can help people
Mhm.
and be genuine. Don't just be like, "How can I help you?" But, like, I find that if I'm talking to somebody on the phone and I'm like, "Hey, what's the biggest thing facing you right now? Is there something I can do to make your day better?" One of the things I say to my kids and our family tries to live this way is we always wanna leave people better than we found them. And that doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. It could be a smile. It could be you're in traffic and somebody needs out and you're like, "Go ahead, man." You know?
Yeah.
It can be a little thing, but it's those little things that make the big difference. So I think that we need to get out of our own head and understand a conversation is a conversation. It doesn't have to be about real estate,
Yeah. It
right?
just literally be about, like, what's life like?
Yeah.
Kids.
And what we do is we teach people a conversation formula to help them overcome small talk.
Can you share the conversation for me? Unless it's,
And
like, top secret, like,
it's
Main
not
Street.
top
Okay,
secret.
okay.
I'm gonna tell you right now, everything I teach is stuff I've stolen from other people, so none of it's stuff I made up. But, it's called FORD. It's an acronym, and it
Okay,
teaches you how to have s small talk. It's
okay.
family. It
Yeah,
stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
okay.
And it basically just teaches you how to, talk to people. So when you don't have something to say, you're like, "Hey, how's the family doing?" How's your husband? How's your wife? How's the kids? It could be any of those things.
What's your dreams? How's work? Like all
And
of that.
well, yeah, how's work? Those 2 are very easy. What people start getting tripped up on is recreation dreams. I don't wanna ask them their dreams. I'm like, "Okay, well, what's a dream?" It's a future state. So ask them about their future, like you just ended with.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. You could just say, "Hey, you're working here right now. Do you plan to stay there? Is that your end game? You wanna be there for the next 5 years?"
Hmm.
And they're gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, I love it," or they're gonna say, "No, I hate my job. Like, I can't wait to get out of here." "Really? What would you like to do?" "Well, I would love if I could do blah, 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 blah." And then in my head, I'm thinking, "Do I know somebody that does that? Can I connect them?
Hmm.
Can I make their dream happen? If I can make your dream happen,
That,
how are you gonna feel about me?"
yeah, a lot more positive for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, "Alicia's awesome," you know? And then if Alicia's awesome, guess what? She also does real estate. Guess what Alicia's also awesome at?
Real estate. Yeah. So it's like,
So it's about that's what I'm saying, like, you're building your brand, right? My brand is when people talk to me, they know I'm gonna help solve their problems. That's it. It doesn't matter what the problem is. Um, and so I think that it's just, again, for me, when people are new, it's you gotta just do the fundamentals, and those same fundamentals are things you're gonna do for the rest of your career.
mhm,
If you keep talking to 5 new people every day, you're never gonna run out of business, you're never gonna run out of people to talk to, and I'm not saying, again, not real estate. Just talk to 5 new people.
yeah.
If you do that, if you, learn how to have those conversations, the forward conversations, and then here's the important thing, if you actually record what you talked about, like, in your CRM, like, the thing that
Yeah.
no agents use, like, if you would record that in there, or I even tell them, like, pick out your iPhone and add it to the notes, like, this
Yeah.
isn't hard, you can even, like, talk it in there if you want to.
Put it in the calendar, like their birthday, maybe.
Now there's AI stuff that will literally record your conversation and add it to your CRM for you, so, like, if you're super lazy, come on, you can figure that out too. So yeah, I'd say those are my top 3 things that I would tell a new agent to do right away.
Yeah, no, I really thank you, Alicia, for coming on. Cause it's a very good like conversation, just even for like all the agents out there. Cause there's so much. I don't want to. What's it?
Noise.
Yeah, noise is a really good word. Kind of like with how do you do this? How do you do this? Go to this seminar. Go to this training. But it's more of just like the simplicity of real estate, and just at the end of the day, you're just helping people. That's literally it.
It's like the simplest job ever when you look at it that way, but I mean, it isn't simple when it comes to, like, all the contracts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's a skill.
yeah.
There's
There
a
is
skill
something
that
that
you have to sharpen.
But
Yeah.
the primary thing is helping people with their homes. After that, yes, that's something you learn, but it's primarily but if you never learn how to help people, it's pretty hard to go and get into the all the other stuff.
And then it's hard to build upon. It's like the foundation,
Yeah.
I mean, real estate's all about houses, right? What do they start with? They start with the foundation. A house can't become you can't do all the pretty extra stuff until the foundation, which is the probably the ugliest part of every home, is done.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing is like so many agents want to start out with the pretty fluff stuff, the Canva. I got this on Canva and I look pretty and this is that. That's great. And that's important. Like you do need to look at your brand. But if you're not building it on a foundation,
Mhm.
that's all for nothing. Like you've got to have a strong foundation. And that foundation isn't anything but you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people mess up. They think it's going to be, I'm at this brokerage or I'm here, I'm there, I'm there. You need to be where you are the primary foundation
Mm.
and that you build yourself because that's what your whole business is built on. I guarantee you, there are probably people we've been following up with for 20 years that if you asked them what real estate company I was with, they would say, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just know Mark and Alicia.
A lot of people, like, try to depend on, like, maybe Remax,
And
like
yeah,
Hannah, like, all of
the
them.
brand of their brokerage and they neglect building themselves. So you'll never regret the money and the time that you put into building yourself. You never will.
It's always an investment kind of in the
It is.
future.
And you take it with you throughout the rest of your whole life. So yeah, I think I would just end with that. Like if an agent's out there and they're like, I'm not being successful, I'm not this. And I'll talk to any agent too. Like if anybody listens to this and they're like, I just want to talk to her, I'll do a Zoom with anyone. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna recruit you. There's not gonna be at the end a hey, you want to come over to Main Street? Because that's not. I mean, if they haven't learned that's not me by now, I guess they'll never know. But like that's not who I am. I just believe in helping people. And if somebody's ready to quit and they're looking for the answer as to why they should stay in or they're really passionate about trying to make it, like those are the people I love. I
Yeah.
love those people because it's like sometimes they just have so much overload of information that they're just not seeing the thing that's right in front of them.
Mhm.
And apparently I'm pretty good at picking those things out for people, but I love doing that.
Yeah,
I love
no.
doing that.
We'll leave, like, your contact details in below on, like, on the YouTube video if you're open to it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I actually have a link where people can just schedule on my calendar.
Oh,
So, yeah,
okay.
and they can just book a time with me, and I'll do, like, a little mini session with them and say, "Hey, this is where you're at. This is where this is something I would see that you do." Whether they do it or not is up to them.
Yeah, no.
But
Alright, yeah, we'll put that. No, I really thank you for coming on because, again, every single episode is different, and I could say that the way you approach real estate is not like everyone else, and it's very good to hear, like, different perspectives for all our audience, like, people that wanna get into it, and I thank you for coming on.
hey, thanks for having me. This has been so awesome. I love sharing what we do and just helping people to discover another way if they're looking for one. So hopefully it helps somebody.
Yeah, we'll try to get you on some maybe maybe in, like, 2 years, 5 years, get, like, a little update,
Yeah,
see what's going on.
I would love it. I would love it.